Hey Matt, how's it going?
Hey Jade, how are you?
Doing good. We're here with Matt Greer from Robots Against Children. How did you come up with that name?
What I like to tell people is that I'm like the child and I'm just trying to work with these robots to make something beautiful. That's what I like to say, but really it's just some bullcrap that my cousin said one time when we were at a party when we were 18, and it just made me laugh and it always stuck in my mind. I figured if it sticks in my brain, maybe it'll stick in other people's too.
I like it. It's pretty catchy.
What's real funny is if I mention it to someone who's never heard of me and they go, "Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that." And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, I've never heard of it, but it is pretty catchy.
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey. How did you get into making music without a computer?
So I guess, I started when I was young with guitar and drums and just that kind of thing. So I played some instruments, and then I got into DJing for a while, and I did the rave scene, and I was real into jungle and all that kind of stuff. And so that was my first experience with working with electronic music. But then I visited a friend, and he was making tracks on his computer, and I got really hooked on making tracks. I did that for a long, long time until I got a job behind a computer, and that was no longer fun for me. So I just kind of quit making music altogether for 5 years. And then I decided I wanted to play some shows, so I started looking at hardware. I started looking at sequencers, drum machines, synthesizers, all that kind of stuff, because I wanted to play shows, really. And I just got really into it, and it's kind of been nothing short of obsession ever since. But I just love it. It gets me away from my desk job, which is sitting in front of a computer, and lets me stand up and groove and bounce around and just do that whole thing. And then when I want to take it to the show, I just literally take the same exact equipment that's in the studio and put it on stage, and all my tracks are ready to go. So it's real convenient for that too.
That's awesome. So do you have any influences of people that do this type of thing, or just electronic musicians in general?
Sure. I would have to cite Orbital as a huge influence in my life, both musically and in terms of them performing in a similar way. I saw them perform, it was late 90s or early 2000s, but they do the same kind of thing. They have sequencers, They have synths, drum machines, and they just have these two big racks around them, and they're up there performing. So it's I guess it's kind of old school now, but when I saw them, I didn't really think about it much. I just dug their music, but that certainly influenced my journey and the way I make music, I guess. I hear some of them in my stuff now, and I've started making those correlations.
That's cool. Yeah, I've just started getting into electronic music, so anything new that I hear, any names, I'm always interested. Good
cool
stuff. So what's
right
your workflow like? What's your workflow like?
So I usually start with something, usually I hear it in my head before I start to make the music, and I walk around with my phone all the time, and I'm always humming stuff into it. When I'll hear a little melody or a beat or something, I'm beatboxing, or a little bass line, and I just catch little snippets into my phone all day, and then I'll go back and I'll listen to those once every few weeks, and some of them are what was I even thinking on that? But then some of them are kind of okay, there's something to that, so I'll try to pick out what I liked, and I'll usually start with either a melody or a bass line, or sometimes it's just the drums, but it usually comes from my head, and then the challenge is trying to translate the way you heard it in your brain into this equipment, and it never really quite matches up, but at least that's a starting point. And then I just sort of build a construction kit out of pieces. Okay, here's my drums, and here's bass lines, and here's some leads, and I just kind of put layers on layers on layers on layers, and then I just keep working with it until I can sort of arrange a beginning, a middle, and an end out of all the pieces.
Okay, so are you working on an EP or making an album, working on getting some gigs? What are your plans for 2017?
Yes. Sure, a little of all of that. So I'm re-releasing an old album of mine, actually on the 24th of February.
Nice.
So that's first start. I've had this record for a long time, but it really never got much traction. But now that I kind of have the Robots Against Children thing, I'm starting to get a little more, on the scene, I guess, a little bit locally. So I want to release something. So I'm going to put that out there, but I really want to write another album, a new album. And I'm started thinking about songs and kind of had some lyrics in my head, and I picked up guitar even and started writing things on there. So I don't know what it's going to be like. It'll probably be less electronic than I'm doing right now, but it'll still have synths and all that, of course. But so I want to work on another album, and then I've got some shows too. I'm going to keep doing that, and then of course the YouTube stuff's always fun, so I'll keep doing those too.
Nice. So how do you feel the Dawless Facebook group has helped you as a musician, if at all?
Oh, wow. Man, I mean, a lot, really, because
cool.
It's really inspiring. I really like being able to help people when I can. You know, there's folks that are just getting started, and it's nice to be able to answer questions or give some advice if they want it, you know. And then same for me. I mean, I'm still learning stuff all the time. There's guys that have been doing this kind of workflow for a lot longer than I have, so I can learn from them. And there's a whole lot of history in that stuff that was going on before I got into it, and I appreciate that. There's different levels of wisdom. I mean, we've got people in the group that are in their 60s, and then people who are 18 and just started, so that's really cool. But mostly I just like the community of it, and the networking and the friends and the camaraderie and all of that. It's really cool because it's like a new type of folk art where we're like this collective of artists, and we all like listen to each other's stuff and we support each other's stuff, and it's like the audience is the artist and vice versa. And I think that's really cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a small community, but it's growing. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So tell us about this song that we're about to play.
So this is something that I just recorded a few days ago, actually, and it's part of a series of recordings I've been doing, getting ready for this gig in February. And the gig's February 11th, and I accepted the gig, but I didn't really have anything prepared, so I was like, okay, I better get to work. So I've just started releasing like a series of videos for the tracks that I plan on making for the gig. And the videos, I mean, I hope they're entertaining and people like them, but I'm kind of recording it for myself because when I get onto the next song, I've already forgotten what I did on the last one, so I need the video to, like, when I get ready to practice them, be like, oh yeah, that's the patch and that's what I'm playing. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm doing. So that's what the song, it's called Struttin', and this is actually the second version of it. I had an old version of it with some really budget gear, but I sped it up a little bit, added some new parts, and tried to make it a little more engaging for a live audience.
Nice. Well, it's been great to have you, man. Thanks for being the first experiment.
Anytime.
Yeah. Well, we'll check this out, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.